Hello, welcome to Garden Chronicles. My name is James David, and this is a video where I've recently visited the Sungei nursery during the Chinese New Year time, and I've noticed that there's a lot of these festive flowers. These blooms are actually placed here for sale, and I would like to share a little bit more on my opinion and my experience based on this particular plant, commonly known as chrysanthemum plants. I must say that due to the festive season, this is very much catered for the general public, where they use these flowers as more on a decoration piece, in a way to say that they are keeping this more on an element of showing this as a cut flower plants. However, these last longer than cut flowers, and for another factor to mention here is that these are very much pretty in their blooms, may not last very long, at least say about a month's time, and once they have finished their blooming cycle, they may not come back to this beautiful display. Don't get me wrong, normally you can get it back to its beauty on its blooms, but it will not be as a former glory as such as this. And I believe that these are very much drafted type, where they have already used the shorter versions of it by cutting it and rooting it and planting it in a more on a beautiful display where it appears to be very much presentable, but in a long run they do tend to grow more tall and leggy, and the flowers may not be as showy as this as they come to a place where they come to a second time blooming. I would like to give a little bit more of an introduction on this particular flowers known as chrysanthemum. What I want to mention to here, if you haven't noticed it, that these are very much of many varieties of chrysanthemums. Some of it actually classified as daisies, some as known as pom-poms, and even ping pong. And some of these are miniature version, and some of it in a mega version, where it's the flower blooms and the buds are much more in a bigger size. All of these are actually very much imported from China. This is what I believe. And the element here, if you ever noticed, that due to feng shui reason, these are colored flowers, mostly depicting on the yellow tones to notify or to denote the element of gold. And that is to say, to bring the element of prosperity and well-being, and this is to be identified as welcoming the prosperous new year, and this beckons that kind of element as one of the factors to be welcomed. Don't get me wrong, there is another element when it comes to chrysanthemum, is that if you notice, all of the white colored chrysanthemums have been isolated, or to say removed from this sale factor, in a way to say that the white denotes more for the dead, and the ones that is more identified as funeral flowers. So you will never find white flowers being displayed during Chinese New Year season. Another factor you have noticed that I've also showed to you, the price tag of this plant is about 20 ringgit per pot. You may find out that this is at most as cheap as a cut flower plants, and this is where the sale begin, where instead of one person just buying a cut flower plant that may at least last about a week or so, this can last at least about 3 weeks. So in a way, in a long term, this is very much affordable and economic, and in a long term run, and you don't really have to change the water and ditch away the plant, and this can actually last for a very long time. Now, coming back to care of this particular plant, for now in this condition, if you want to keep it indoors and a bright shaded area, and just give enough adequate watering for it, for the plant to be alive, the leaf appears to be sturdy, and the blooms will come to its full potential, where it will be full bloom. And I think that is actually okay. You can keep them indoors, but once the blooms have done, you can actually need to keep them outdoor. It requires sun and rain for it to have a second cycle. Otherwise, you will actually find a lot of this leaf turning yellow and appear to be leggy, and the colors appear a bit faded. and may not do so well. You can also keep them in a balcony area because they are not so fussy plant. However, do take note that these are sun lovers. Another factor here is that when it comes to chrysanthemums, you can actually use it for Chinese tea, or you can eat herbal tea. But do not use these flowers when they are bloom, because I'm pretty sure they have been sprayed with pesticides and herbicide and whatever, not chemicals that can cause harm. So do refrain yourself from using these flowers for consumption. Another factor of once the season has done, in a way to say, let's say 1 to 2 months time, when you want to look into this plant, you can actually repot this plant. I believe that these are actually tightly knit together. At least about 20 plants were actually pressed into one singular pot, and in a way that these are actually quite compact, so you can actually remove all of them and repot them in a singular plant in a pot, and they actually will do fine and good. And also do take note that if you are repotting it, do strip off the bottom part of the leaf so you can actually take a look and observe that there is no pest or any rot problem that's taking place at the bottom of the stem. So this is actually one of the important things to care tips kind of factor to keep the plant in a long-term basis. I must say that it's not really much of sought after plant, because you can actually find a lot of these stems where it is been disposed near a florist area, where they actually use the flower buds for garlands, and all of the stem actually discarded, and these stems are actually viable to be propagated for a new plant. All you have to do is trim off the floral stems off and just keep the main stem, and just have to poke it and just watch for it to grow its roots, and actually within about 3 months time they will form new flower buds. The element here is that because these flowers are so common, that they are not highly sought after in this kind of region. Other than that, I can say that if they are actually cultivated and grown as such as this, you can see the visual display is quite magnificent and beautiful to look at. And one of the wonders that here you can see the rows and rows of flowers. There are actually so many colors and types that you actually spoil for choice. Another factor that I must make mention here is they do form true seed, but however the seed pods, you can actually say that these are very much sterile in the lowland tropical climate here. One of the things that I can say is that why struggle to grow them by seed when you can actually grow them by stem, and you can actually find that growing them using stem cutting is far more successful, and you'll be able to control it and able to visually see the plant whether it's alive or dead, rather than seeds where in a way that the plant may not germinate. So it's also another factor to keep an eye on this, because there are a lot of seeds sold in a packet, and it can be controversial and questionable. I for one have not come across any gardeners who have actually grow them by seed, where you actually, and most of them, if they were to do so, grow them by stem cutting. So do take note on this if you are new and wondering what to do with this plant. Now for the factor of practicalities, that if let's say you have purchased this plant and you're wondering what to do with it, and you can actually keep them indoors or bright indirect light and observe and enjoy the flowers as long as it lasts. Once the bloom cycle has completed, then trim off the flower buds and also trim off the bottom part of the leaves, and I would really encourage you to repot the plant, because the existing soil medium is most likely going to be cocoa peat, which may not be suitable in long term for this particular plant. The best would be a regular potting mix, which is fast draining, and it requires to be acclimatized in the lowland climate, as this may not do so well immediately in open rain and sun. Once the plant has acclimatized, you can notice that though the flower buds may not be so glorious, but they do bloom bloom, and it'll appear to be at least about 6 to 7 feet tall in a singular plant, depending on the type of species of this chrysanthemum. Once acclimatized, they can actually handle the weather very well, very much similar like a sunflower or any of the annual type of plants here in the lowland hot and humid climate. They can also handle hot and dry weather provided they are watered daily. I have now come to the end of my video. If you have any questions, do put them in the comment below, and I try my best as possible to answer your questions and queries based on my experience and opinion. And I hope you enjoyed this particular video, and if you really can, I really hope you can do so. Can you please click like and subscribe and support my channel, and this will really help me to follow up with similar videos and according to your interests, and hopefully more videos on similar nature on garden plants here in this particular hot and humid dry lowland climate zone here in Malaysia. Hope to see you again. Have a nice day. Bye.